My brother and I aren't on the best of terms. I envy people with good relations to their siblings because being around my brother is just draining. He seems to follow two very strict rules. The first is that he's always right, even when evidence is presented against him. I swear the guy has developed immunity towards logic and reason. The second rule he follows is that I'm always wrong. Whatever I say, he has to argue against. It's obnoxious. Luckily we no longer live in the same country, so we see each other at most 2 times a year, which is barely tolerable. This story takes place in December last year. I had traveled to my parents to celebrate Christmas, and so had my brother, his wife and his 2 kids, 2 and 4, maybe 5 years old. All of us are staying in my parents' house. As you can imagine, it's rather crowded, and the noise level far exceeds that of which I'm used to. One morning, I wake up around 8 AM. My brother and his kids are already awake and eating breakfast from what I can hear. I decide to browse Reddit on my phone an hour, just to avoid more interaction than I have to. When I finally decide to leave bed and have breakfast, my brother and his family has moved on into the TV room. The TV is on, and they're watching cartoons on YouTube. I make myself 2 sandwiches and join them. My brother hands me the remote and says, "Just put on whatever 4-year-old is pointing at. I need to go to the bathroom." Alright, I can do that. Unlike his father, the little guy is actually pretty cool to be around. We browse child-friendly YouTube videos, eventually settling on Barney the Purple Dinosaur. My brother has by this point returned. Eventually the video ends, and related videos pops up. 4-year-old is pointing at a video called Scientifically Accurate, Barney the Purple Dinosaur. I've been browsing enough internet to know that that is not a child-friendly video. The conversation goes as follows. 4-year-old, "Uncle, please put that one on." Me, "I don't think that's a good idea. How about another one?" 4-year-old, "But I wanna see that one." Me, My brother interrupts me. "Brother, put that one on. He wants to see it." Me, "I really don't." "Brother, put it on." Me, "Trust me, it's..." "Brother, for God's sake, just put it on." Me, "Alright, but this one's on you." I mentally prepare myself for the total shitshow that is about to go down as I place the remote on the table. No more than 15 seconds into the video, the first images of cartoon gore is displayed. The 2-year-old starts crying. The maternal instincts of my brother's wife kicks in, and she starts yelling at my brother to turn it off. By this point, the video has reached the point where kids are starting to get killed. Brother finally manages to turn the video off. The 4-year-old, having seen forbidden content, is now throwing a tantrum over not getting to see the entire video. Brother's wife does her best to comfort the 2-year-old, but she's crying her eyes out. Meanwhile, my brother is trying to end the tantrum of the 4-year-old. Despite the mayhem, all I can feel is total inner peace. Never has utter chaos been so satisfying. Finally my brother turns to me. "Why would you put on that SHT?" In a calm voice I simply reply, "Because you told me to." "Brother, but you knew what it was." Me, "And you didn't listen when I tried to warn you." "Brother, you never tried to warn me." I sigh. At this point I just leave. There is no winning this argument. After all, he's always right, even when the evidence is screaming otherwise. This happened about 15 years ago. I was working as a server in a chain restaurant during the summer while I was home from college. I had gone to a party one night, gotten hammered, and wound up passing out near the bonfire in the brush by a tree line of this big field. I woke up the next morning feeling pretty rough, and gradually saw large patches of poison ivy popping up all over my body. By the end of the day, it was absolutely horrendous, head to toe, and I realized I had slept in a patch of poison ivy. I could barely move. I went to the doctor, who put me on steroids and bed rest. I was scheduled to work the next day and called my supervisor to let him know that aside from not being able to move my limbs because of the swelling, itching, and pain, I looked awful and should not be serving food to customers. He was a prick about it, asked me questions trying to poke holes in my story, and then demanded a doctor's note. I called my doctor and had one sent to him. The note cleared me from work for at least a week. A few days later I get a call from my manager. They are slammed on a busy weekend night and need me to come in. I remind him that I have a doctor's note, it hasn't been a week, and while I'm feeling better, I'm covered in oozing sores. He tells me, "You've had long enough. Come in now, or you'll be fired." Fine. I put on shorts, my polo shirt with company logo, name tag and apron and head to the restaurant. I get to the hostess stand, everyone around me stares at my skin with their jaws dropped. I tell the hostess I was called into work and would like to check with the manager about where my section will be. She tells me he is busy in the party room helping out with a very large group and that I probably shouldn't go in there. She offers to go get him and tries to get me to move to a more conspicuous place. No, I insisted. I was told I would be fired if I didn't come to work today. I walked straight back to the party room, tapped my manager on the shoulder and cheerily said, "Hi manager, I'm here for my shift. How can I help?" His eyes opened wide in horror, and he told me immediately to go back home. I loudly protested that I was feeling better, that my sores weren't that bad, and I was worried about being fired, like he told me on the phone. He told me to go home, which I did. This was not the first incident where the manager was an absolute prick, and I called to quit the morning of the next legitimate shift I was scheduled for, after the poison ivy cleared up. That reminds me of a story from when I was in college back in the 70s. My best buddy is Toivo, a second generation Finn whom I have known virtually all my life. He still blames me on getting him interested in geology, but that's another story. Anyways, we're both native sons of the land of bratwurst, cheese, and beer, and attended university at one or more of the state system's finest colleges, not being terribly keen on racking up intolerable debt to pursue our oily dreams. We, for the lack of a better word, worked. Teaching assistant, research assistant, lab rat, do what, go fair, whatever we could to fill our meager coffers. Enter Toivo's father, Pital, never *MRHMLIMLMLNEN*, always just Pital, who had recently retired after 40 years of working for the county. Doing what? No one really knew, but whatever it was, he must have had tenure. He graciously used his county connections to get both me and Toivo jobs whenever we had breaks from school. During winter break, we would flood parks to make skating rinks, drive snowplows and clear the outback for several semi-rural towns, hamlets, and villages. During the summer, we were casual labor, which means we would get all the shit jobs that the regular workers didn't want to do or had put off long enough to get someone else to do it for them. For being casual labor, it paid sort of well, had kind of decent benefits, and allowed us free reign to roam over the entire county. We would fix the swings and slides at township parks, chalk baseball diamonds for the Little League, empty fish cleaning stations, then sanitize the bilge dumps at the more than dozen local lakes, drive a honey wagon, and slurp out those blue Doctor Who phone box like public outhouses, those sort of exciting duties. Because of our celebrity status as Pitter's college boys, we'd actually get asked to visit with the county engineer whenever a new spillway, caferdam or water related structure was going to be built, because hey, geology. One lake that particular summer was destined to get a new parking lot, fish cleaning station, dump bilge, to control invasive species, and most importantly, a spanking new public boat launch. This lake, which you'll call Sliver Lake, was a typical up north sort of impoundment. Stuffed to the gills, ahem, with crappie, woolly, bluegills, bucket mouth and bronzeback bass, northern pike, chain pickerel, the occasional musky and nuclear submarine sized carp. As such, it was very popular with both locals and, well, let's just call them immigrants, or FIBS* for short. It was off the beaten path, but urban sprawl had made this a well-known and well-used fishing honey hole. Unfortunately, there were no public boat launchings, so if you had anything larger than a canoe, kayak or cart topper, you had to pay some local with lake frontage to launch your boat. Most of these private launch sites were also occupied by bait camps, so not only did one have to pony up the outrageous $2 launch fee, one would usually feel obligated to buy their fishing essentials, ichnow, worms, beer, minnows, beer, mouses, beer, boat gas, beer, cheese curds, beer, from the same proprietor. The hue and cry was deafening. Literally, tens of folks signed a petition for a Sliver Lake public boat launch, so the county raised a referendum, secured bonds, and one was actually going to be built. Since I had blasting and heavy equipment operating experience, I got to pilot the 1WWII vintage County D6 dozer to carve out a 1/3 mile road from the main drag to a small backwater of the lake where the launch was to be built. They even let me rough out the area where the parking lot, fish station and boat launch were to be constructed. I never did get to use any of the county's DuPont Herculean 60% extra fast. To this day I resent continental glaciers and ease with which Pleistocene detritus can be relocated with just a simple bulldozer. The location for the boat launch was on a small re-entrant cove on the lake's south side where Pickerel Creek debouched. It needed some dredging to make a decent launch area, so the ACE, Army Corps of Engineers, came in, straightened the creek's course, and dredged out the bottom to a depth of an even 2.5 meters. They used a barge-mounted crane, and I was again disconsolate that I wasn't allowed to do any blasting. Damned glaciers. We were tasked with building the wooden forms for the poured concrete boat launch proper, with chatter strips for traction as boat launches, with their usual setting being somewhat submerged in a quiet backwater, tended to accumulate all sorts of slippery vegetal schmoo. The grand opening of the boat launch was carried out that July 4th with the attendant ribbon cutting, beer drinking, bratwurst fry, beer drinking, fireworks and beer drinking. It was a most resounding achievement. However, over time, the regularly used boat launch would accumulate a most disconcertingly tropical assemblage of algal and botanical hydroflora. Species such as Eurasian water milfoil, purple leucostrife, coontail, bladderwort, duckweed, hydrilla, and that particular bane of lake dwellers, algae. Nasty little bastards such as ***spirogyra**************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** These made the new boat launch slipperier than eel in a bucket full of snot. The top water and shallow weeds were handled with a specially designed Macleod harvesting boat that looked like a wheat thresher had a one-night stand with a John boat. The algae, on the other hand, resisted everything from algaecides to blunt language. However, we found that application of hot, high-pressure water would hold the little fuckers at bay for a fortnight during the long hot summer. So, every 2 weeks, Toivo and I would commandeer the county 1-ton flatbed that carried a propane-fueled boiler hooked up to a high-pressure water pump and a good-sized water tank. We tried various concoctions of algaecides, surfactants, and even abrasives, but found that good old high-pressure hot water, though not steam, worked the best in scouring the boat launch clear of the offending biota. At least for a time. That fateful day, Toivo and I had set up the sawhorse barricades to do the fortnightly scouring and had just let off the heater on the truck. Normally, the whole job took about an hour, but with it being a particularly balmy northern summer with beer prices at a historical low, we did tend to do a rather extremely thorough job. Enter the protagonists. Mr. and Mrs. Phibb comes tooling in with their brand new Chevy Blazer towing a brand new Glastron Fab fuck around boat, ski boat. Sliver Lake is not a large body of water by any metric. It was a calm little backwater for swimming, fishing and quiet recreation. Recreation, at that time, did most emphatically not include jet skis, may they all be melted down for paper clips, nor ski boats. Hey, you assholes, what the fuck? Were you blocking the boat launch? Mr. Phibb hollers in his peerless style. Or thousand pardons, sir. We are but humble county workers keeping the boat launch clear for all to benefit from a safe and enjoyable boating experience. No, really, we didn't say, piss off you fucking idiot. We're doing our fucking jobs here as much as we really wanted to though. Well fuck that. Get the fuck out of my way. I want to launch my new $10,000 boat and go skiing, so move the fucking sawhorses, you fuckheads. Sorry, sir. No can do. It's unsafe until we clear the algae and weeds from the launch area. It's very slimy and unsafe. It's our job to make certain this area is secure. I don't give a hoot in hell about your fucking menial jobs. Get the fuck out of my way. I'm going to launch my boat now, and you better fucking well move all that shit. If I scratch my new $15,000 Blazer, it'll sue you and the county and just get the fuck out of the fucking way. Sir, I must warn you, with the summer weather there's been quite the algae bloom and the ramp is covered with Fuck your algae and fuck you. Get the fuck out ta my way and stay the fuck out ta my way. Can't say we didn't try and warn him. With a collective shoulder shrug, we move the sahorses and repair to the truck, conveniently already out of harm's way, to have a cold one and watch the upcoming comedy. Mr. Fib gets Mrs. Fib to drive after he clumsily lines up his fab on the tarmac just in front of the sloping and damned slippery boat launch. He instructs her how to slowly and ineptly back the boat up until it floats free of its trailer. Has already put the trailer winch on free spool, but hasn't disengaged the hook which attaches it to the boat. Mrs. Fib gooses the gas and the whole outfit lurches about 3 feet back, just up to the water's edge. Mr. Fib goes apoplectic and screams at his marital unit to be more fucking careful and just give it a little fucking gas. Slowly, and at a 30-degree angle, the trailer disappears into the algae-laden water, and the boat begins to float away. The Blazer's back tires are nestled into a mass of some of the finest slip-and-slide algae that the Northwoods can offer. Mr. Fib then inexpertly jumps up onto the trailer to grab the boat cable to guide it over to the dock so he can tie up and disconnect. Note, this is a perfect example of how not to do things, as will become apparent. He notices that the truck is slowly sliding lakeward. In fact, the back mud flaps were already being caressed by the lake's gentle lapping. God damn it. Quit backing up. But honey, I'm not doing anything. I've got it in park. Oh, sure you have, you idiot. Hit the fucking brakes. I am, dear. The truck continues its slow glide into the lacustrine realm when Mr. Fib gets even more exasperated than what was thought humanly possible. Hit the brakes. Hit the fucking brakes. Pull the emergency brake. Stop fucking moving. Oh, honey, I have already. The truck was picking up speed, not as much as one carrying 30,000 pounds of bananas down a hill in Scranton, Pennsylvania, but it was noticeably gently descending toward a watery fate. Mr. Fib jumps awkwardly off the trailer, flings open the driver's door, and screams for his wife to shove the fuck over. He drops it in gear, guns the engine, and sees that Mrs. Fib was telling the truth. Hey, you guys. Help me out here. Mr. Fib screams at us. Toivo, can you hear anything over the noise of that engine? Toivo grins and replies, nope, not a fucking thing. Fuck you two idiots, as he bails out of the truck and locks the front hubs. Back inside, he drops it into Granny Low and tries to four-wheel it out of his algae base nightmare. The algae had other ideas. Slowly descending backward into Davy Jones' realm, he is gunning the engine, shifting high-low, doing anything to give him purchase on this botanical sliding board. One tire would bite, and with the wonders of early 4WD, power would be shifted to that wheel and the smell of expensive rubber smoke would permeate the air. All this noise and confusion caught the attention of a passing constable. He was winding down the path when he saw this expensive fab floating away, though still tethered to the expensive Chevy Blazer now up to its tailgate in lake water. Apparently, Mr. Fib's frantic actions eroded or burnt away enough algae for his vehicle to finally gain footing. He had just shifted into high gear and firewalled it when all 4 tires suddenly found traction. He, his wife, his expensive truck and trailer rocketed up the ramp, zoomed across the parking lot, and punched rather unceremoniously into the front of the fish cleaning station. This ruptured the holding tank of the station, so that all that summer simmered fish goo sloshed against the wall and soon ammed back onto his expensive new truck. The boat cable immediately snapped off the fab and whipped back like a coiled metal cobra with a nasty hangover. It shattered the rear window of the Blazer and did a buck and wing on the roof paint job. The constable saw all this and immediately radioed for backup, an ambulance, tow truck, and several fire hoses. Toivo was going to mention that we had a fired up pressure washer at our disposal, but immediately thought better of it when Mr. and Mrs. Fib stormed out of the truck and began screaming at us. You fucking bastards. You cunts. You knew this would happen. Yep, and we warned you. Mr. Fib didn't take lightly to this response, screamed even more, found a hunk of broken brick from the station, and in a fit of fury, hurled it at us. We calmly step aside, and the brick smacks into the county truck. Mr. Phibb was so concerned with us that he didn't see the constable as he was blindsided and taken down like a poleaxed steer. As Mr. Phibb was cuffed and cudgeled, Mrs. Phibb waddles over and begins splitting the constable with lies and accusations how we were to blame. We caused the situation and we were probably responsible for the sun winking out 5 billion years hence. She was so beside herself that she actually took to attacking the officer and began to slap and smack at him. A full 20 seconds later, she's on the ground with her hubby, trussed like an early season whitetail. Toivo, Rock, what the hell happened here? Cue story reiteration. Toivo pipes up, well, Stan, what now? As the rest of the town police force, both of them, show up, along with a tow truck and ambulance. Well, you guys get overtime to finish your job and clean up the fish station. I get to haul these two idiots back to town for formal indictment. So, Toivo and I spent the rest of the day and into the double time and a half night blasting algal mats, retrieving an errant fab, stacking bricks and hosing down the breathtaking miasma of overripe fish guts, rotten bait and bashed blazer bits. Mr. and Mrs. Phibb were, as we found out a bit later, charged with dwe, obstructing an officer, assaulting an officer, felonious assault, property destruction, not having their boat properly registered, using fraudulent IDs, failure to control their vehicle, to charges of assaulting a county worker, property damage and generally being assholes in an anus-free zone. Their truck was a mess and the fab was in need of serious fiberglass rhinoplasty. Damages and fines came out the very high 5 figures and they were forbidden to operate any craft in state waters. I'm not certain of jail time, but the judge didn't care for Phibbs any more than anyone else, so he probably deported them southward. Later at the Gopher Beer Bait Camp, Toivo and I hoisted several leaners and corbels in honor of the slippery shitheads who were, unwittingly, buying the rounds that night. If you enjoyed the stories, slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.